This is a demonstration on using the multi-intersection tool in our spatial products. The multi-intersection tool will create a join of multiple layers based on the areas at which they intersect. This can be used, for example, to see your compliance to plan when mining. You can find areas where you mined according to plan, where you overmined, or where you undermined. I'll show you an example of this now. As you can see here, I have two layers. One is my plan layer in blue, and the other is my actual layer where I actually mined. Now I'm going to use the multi-intersection tool on these. So you can use the tool on 2 or more layers. And before you launch the tool, you'll make sure to highlight both of your layers so it knows which layers to do it on. So you can hold down your shift key and then select the various layers so that they all get selected. Then you come to the Tools tab and then click on the multi-intersection tool over here. Alright, first thing you're going to do is actually give the different layers a prefix for their columns when they're added to the new joined layer so that you can identify where the columns are coming from, which layer they are being pulled from. So you can see here I already added a prefix for my planned layer columns to have a P and my actual layer columns to have an A. Then when you're done, you can go ahead and say OK. And it will create a new layer for you here with your multi-intersections. I'll say OK, and there it is. Now I'm going to show you how to actually look at the results and analyze them, theme on them, etc. Right click on the layer and go to View Data to bring up the data grid. And you can see here the columns from the 2 layers that were joined and brought through. The A is from my actual layer, and then the P is from my planned layer. So you'll find that the areas where all the columns are populated are the areas where both layers intersect each other. Then the areas where only the actual is populated, but the planned layer columns are not populated, would be overmined areas, meaning my actuals existed there, but then they did not intersect at all with the planned. So these would be my overmined areas. Then finally, places where there is nothing populated for my actual columns, but there is for my planned columns would be undermined areas, meaning I didn't mine there at all, and that is how you can identify those intersections. Now what I'm going to do to analyze this further is I'm going to add some more columns here in my data grid. So to do that, I will right click in the column header area and say add stored column. I'll give the column a name. The first column I'm going to add here is an area column, just so I can get the area values for each of my mined areas. I'll call it area meters squared. The type of the column is a number. It's going to be a double precision type. I'll give it. Then I'll come to the initial values tab and insert a calculation here for areas meters squared. And there we go. I've added an area meters squared column. Drag that and put that over here so I can get the areas for each of these sections. Then I'm going to add another column here to actually mark out and identify my planned, overmined, and undermined areas more easily. So I'll right click again in the column header area, add stored column. I'm going to call this column status. And this will be a string type because it'll have text. And then I'm just going to say OK. So it's blank for now. And then I'm going to actually do a filter here to pick out the areas and then assign them to their correct value. So first of all, I'm going to filter on where my actuals are populated. So I'll choose a column from my actual columns here. Let's do the new ID one. And then I'm going to filter out so that the blanks are not showing and only the populated are. And then the same on my plan columns, where there are no blanks as well and only populated. And this will actually give me my planned areas because they are both populated, and that's actually where they both intersect. Then I'm going to select all my rows here with the Control A. And then I'm going to right click on my status column header, bring up the set values tool. And then I'm going to assign the value as planned. That's done. The next filter I'm going to do over here is I'm going to filter out where all my actuals are populated, but then where there is no planned. So I'm going to only show the blanks here. There we go. And these are going to represent my overmined areas because they're actuals, but then they don't intersect with any planned at all. Then I'm going to do a Control A again to select all the rows. Right click on my status column header, set values. Then I'm going to assign this one a value of overmined. There we go. And then the only thing remaining then, of course, is where my actuals are not populated and where my planned is populated. And of course, these are going to be my undermined areas. So I can now simply just do a filter on my status column to bring up all the blanks. Then I'm going to do a Control A, right click on my status column header, and then I'm going to set values. And because these are just all the remaining ones, the blank ones, they are my undermined, as I know already. So I don't have to do that extra filters that I was doing just before. I'm just picking them up straight from the status column, the remainders, which are all undermined. And then I'm going to assign them a value here of undermined. There we go, that's done. And my status column is fully populated now. And now that I've actually added this column, I can very easily filter out and see all my overmined areas, for example. And then I can actually get the area in square meters of how much was overmined over here. And then I can get a total at the bottom by right-clicking in this area and doing a sum. And there we go, I can see the sum of the area of all my overmined areas. Then of course they're also filtered out on the map when I filter the grid over here. Let's do a filter on my planned for fun. There we go. So these areas are where it goes according to plan. Okay, so you can get those totals here for the area and do the filtering in the grid. And then now that you have these, or you have this extra column that we added status, we can also do a nice color theme so we can visualize this nicely. So I'll close this, right click, go to properties, thematics, new theme, and I'll call it status. Go to the colors tab, and then I'm going to choose my status column to theme on, and then I'll say choose unique colors, and there we go. I'll give my planned a green color, my overmined a red color, and my undermined a yellow color. And I'll say okay. And there we go. Now I've actually themed this layer and I can tick the various parts of it on and off. And there we go. We're looking at where it went according to plan. Here was overmined, and these yellow ones are the undermined areas. And you can see we very nicely visualized now those intersections and found out exactly how we conform to our original mine plan. And that is how you can use the multi-intersection tool. You can do it on more than 2 layers, but in this example, I just chose 2 layers to do it on, but you could do it on 3 or 4, or even more than that to get the various intersections, where they don't intersect, where they do, etc. And that's all on this video. Thank you.